This is your man John Fortune, the host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show, and today's show is my mock NFL Draft 1.0. Now, before I start my show, I want to sit up there and first give myself credit for pointing out guys on my show, my pre-draft selection show, in which I talked about guys that nobody's really paying attention to in this NFL draft. Since I did that 2 weeks later, now all of a sudden, all the guys that I talked about are now being talked about moving up in the second round and at the same time being taken in the first round. My guy, Oshane Ximines, nobody was paying attention to him. Now all of a sudden, this guy's now being projected to go into the second round, possibly moving up into the first round. Hakeem Butler, another guy that nobody, again, was really paying that much attention to. This guy's now all of a sudden, I seen mock drafts where he's actually going into the first round. And not only that, they actually got him listed as the second best wide receiver in the draft. Paris Campbell, another guy, Ohio State guy. He's also sitting up there, moving up the draft board. They got him now going in the high second, maybe even into the first round. And of course, Daniel Jones. At first, prior to my show, I sat up there and talked about how this guy is probably the best quarterback in this draft. This guy is now being listed as the second quarterback taken in the draft this year before Kyler Murray. So I just wanted to take some type of credit for that. You know, hopefully the Redskins will come and look for me. You know, I could work for their scouting department, something like that. I know the owner may not really be feeling it, you know, because I've called him Fan Snyder, you know, and talked about how he's ruined the team, because he did, you know. But again, you know, I'm excited about these guys. It's a shame because all these guys I actually wanted to be on the Redskins, but like I said, after my show, I'm going to take full credit for this. Yeah, it might have been other scouting departments that finally figured out that these guys are out there, but I think they're actually listening to my show. I think they're really listening to my show. But I'm going to get into my mock draft board. Now, I just want to lay out some of the parameters that I put into place for this mock draft, and it's the mock draft 1.0. So I will be doing a 2.0 mock draft, and I'll also be doing a mock draft like days before the actual draft, in which I'll try to, you know, try to figure out what type of trades are going to be made and things of that such nature. But the parameters for my mock draft is, one, I'm going to actually talk about guys that I'm going to actually put in order what the people that the mock drafts are saying these teams are going to take. And I'm going to actually list the guys that they should be taking. Now, when it comes to these guys, I'm actually going to focus on guys that their mock drafts are already saying are going in the first round. So I'm going to make sure that that's the focus of this mock draft board. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start getting right into it. So starting off at the number 1 overall pick is the Arizona Cardinals. Another thing I want to put out there is that I'm going to keep this in order as how they're drafting right now. I'm not going to sit up there and say this trade is happening, this trade is happening. Like I said, this is just mock draft 1.0. So first pick of the first round is the Arizona Cardinals. Now, at this point, every mock draft has the Cardinals taking Nick Bosa, who personally, again, I feel that he's not the best defensive end in this draft. I think he's slightly overrated, but to me, if I was an Arizona Cardinals fan, looking at the problems that they had last year, it wasn't technically really their defense. It was more that their offensive line didn't hold up, especially that left side of that line. So with the number 1 overall pick, I think the Arizona Cardinals should take Greg Little, the athletic offensive tackle from Ole Miss. Again, You got the young quarterback in there in Josh Rosen, and you need to start protecting him. You can't sit up there and have a young quarterback playing behind a shaky line. Again, as a Redskins fan, we know about that. You know, we trotted out Patrick Ramsey behind a crappy line. You know, he never got the opportunity to really develop for us as a quarterback. We had Jason Campbell on the run a lot. Hell, even when it came to RG3, he was running around a lot. So one thing about it is that's where they should really put their focus on. With the number 2 overall pick, the 49ers, all the draft boards are saying Josh Allen, the defensive end out of Kentucky. I like the guy, but in all honesty, I think Devin White, the linebacker from LSU, is a better fit for the 49ers because the 49ers haven't had stellar linebackers since when they had Patrick Willis and Ahmad Brooks and what is the other guy? I can't think of the other guy, and then they had the young guy who sat up there, Borland, who ended up retiring early. Now they got Will Compton out there playing middle linebacker, but I think Devin White is just what they need at that 2nd overall pick. With the 3rd overall pick, they got the New York Jets taking Quinlan Williams, which is the defensive tackle out of Florida State. Again, they're another team that has a young quarterback. Line hasn't been that good in the past couple years. So for me, again, I think they should go with an offensive lineman. Jonah Williams, the offensive tackle out of Alabama. Again, this guy's a big guy. He's a really, really big guy. He's good he's good as a pass blocker. And I think that's where they're going to go. They're going to do more of a passing type thing. And it's best to have Sam Darnold protected while he's throwing the ball. With the number 4 overall pick, they got the Raiders taking Clelin Ferrell, who is the defensive end out of Florida. Out of Clemson. And I like him, but again, because I'm going by my draft board, Josh Allen, the defensive end out of Kentucky, should be their pick right there. Again, this guy's a faster. He's really fast. He's strong. He's a really solid player, and I actually have to admit, by my draft indication, that's where he should actually go. With the 4th overall pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers draft boards got them taking Jonah Williams, the offensive tackle out of Alabama. Again, I got him going early. So I would say that they would take Jawan Taylor, the offensive tackle out of Florida. Again, this is a guy that's very agile. He's able to move between the ball. He's able to move with the ball. So he's good at running plays and things like that. He's also what I call a combo tackle guard. So he can actually play outside and inside. So this would actually be a better fit for them, depending on if the draft board was to go the way it's supposed to go. For the number 6 overall pick, they got the New York Giants taking Dwayne Haskins. Again, I personally feel that the Giants are not giving up on Eli Manning, and them taking a quarterback in the 1st round, it's not going to happen because we saw what Archie Manning did on draft day. I can imagine what he would do again if the Giants took a quarterback in the 1st round. So with that being said, the problem I think the Giants had all year was that offensive line. So I think they should take Cody Ford, the offensive tackle from Oklahoma. He's a really, really good guy. He's good on the outside. He's very good on the outside. He can be switched over to the right side. He can also play the left side. So again, he's another one of those combo tackles that I think will be a good fit for the Giants because there's no way in hell they're taking a quarterback in the 1st round. With the number 7 overall pick, they have the Jacksonville Jaguars taking Rashawn Gary, the defensive end, and I think he's out of Michigan. That's actually a good pick, but in reality, that's not what they need. we all know what they need. They need a quarterback. And to be quite honest, if they're going to select a quarterback, they need to select a quarterback that's going to give them that instant excitement. And I got on my draft board Kyler Murray. The defense gave up last year because they did not believe in the guy that was their quarterback. And we saw that very early on because there were a lot of games where you saw that defense start to play well. And then when a touchdown happened or Blake Bortles threw a pick and it went the other way, they knew that they were not going to be, they didn't get excited about that. They didn't get excited about Blake Bortles as their quarterback. So, like I said, I think that even with their fan base, it's one of those things where Kyler Murray is probably their best fit there. With the number 8 overall pick, the Detroit Lions, they got them taking Greedy Williams, the cornerback out of LSU. Now, this is one of those crazy picks because they had Detroit all over the place with this pick, but I saw Greedy Williams come up twice on mock drafts as the Detroit Lions pick. To be quite honest with you, I think it should be Daniel Jones. It's time to give up on Matt Stafford. He's not that good. He seems to be the catalyst for all their losing. He throws for a lot of yards, but he just seems like he's one of those guys that will never, ever get over the hump. And I think that at this point now, it's time for them to move on and go with a different quarterback at this point. With the number 9 overall pick, they got the Buffalo Bills taking Greg Little, the offensive tackle from Ole Miss. Now, again, I got Greg Little going with the number 1 overall pick. So the person that I felt that they should pick at this selection is Quinlan Williams, the defensive tackle out of Alabama. The reason why I said that that's the guy that they should take is because they have not found a replacement for Marcel Darius. And they desperately need that guy in the middle again. And Quinlan Williams is that guy. He's actually from Alabama because I think earlier I said he was from Florida State. He's actually from Alabama. And this guy is actually a very dominant defensive tackle. I mean, to be honest, he seems a little bit more dominant than Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne. But again, when can you not talk about the Alabama defensive tackles not being dominant? So that's what I got there. At the number 10 overall pick, they got the Denver Broncos taking Devin White, the LSU linebacker. Of course, I got him going to the 49ers. So I sat up there and said that the Denver Broncos should take Greedy Williams, the cornerback from LSU. The reason why I say this is because Greedy Williams they need a replacement. They haven't replaced Aqib Talib. So they actually need a top level cornerback more than anything. I know some people are saying quarterback and things like that, but they could probably get a quarterback later. But at this point, I think that a cornerback in the first round is what they desperately need. With the number 11 overall pick, the Cincinnati Bengals, they got them taking Cody Ford, the offensive tackle out of Oklahoma. But because I got him going early, the guy that I got them selecting is Mack Wilson, the inside linebacker out of Alabama. Again, Vontaze Burfict, he has his problems. They can't rely on him. I think it's time for them to change that. And Mack Wilson will probably be that best guy. He's a speedy linebacker, and he plays sideline to sideline. So this is where I think their pick should go. For the number 12 overall pick, the Green Bay Packers, they got them taking Jachai Polite, the defensive end out of Florida. I like the guy, but I honestly don't think that they're going to take him. Again, like I said, because I already, I think Jachai Polite is good, but I don't think he's the best. So I think that at this pick, Nick Bosa would be the defensive end that they would pick, that the Green Bay Packers would take. They need somebody beside Clay Matthews. Not sure Clay Matthews is going to come back. So that would be their pick. At number 13, the Miami Dolphins, they got the Miami Dolphins taking Kyler Murray, the quarterback out of Oklahoma. Again, on my draft board, I got him going earlier to the Jaguars. So I said that the Miami Dolphins should take Ed Oliver. The reason why is because, again, this is a team where they haven't had a middle in that defensive line has always been kind of soft up the middle. And I think Ed Oliver will probably bring a solution to that. With the number 14 overall pick, they got the Atlanta Falcons taking Ed Oliver, the defensive tackle out of Houston. Because I had him go a pick earlier, the guy that I think that the Atlanta Falcons should take is Christian Wilkins, the defensive tackle out of Clemson. Now, again, this is a guy that's very, very disruptive. I don't think he gets as much praise as he should because he's actually better than some of these defensive tackles on this list. And to be quite honest, I think he's probably the second best after Quinlan Williams. So, yeah, he's actually really, really good. With the number 15 overall pick, they had the Washington Redskins taking Daniel Jones, the quarterback out of Duke. I love this pick on all the draft boards, but because I have Daniel Jones going higher, and I've already told everybody, I feel that we should take Will Grier in the second round. But with our first overall pick, and this is what I said on my last show, we should take Marquise Brown, a wide receiver out of Oklahoma. Again, I feel that this guy is the most explosive wide receiver in the whole draft. And I think that there's so much you can do with this guy. Like, he's like a Brandon Brandon Cooks, or he's like, he could be like a Julian Edelman and things like that. A guy that just is all over the place and gets open all the time. So that's who I feel the Redskins should take at their 15th overall pick, according to my draft board. With the number 16 overall pick, the Carolina Panthers, they had the Carolina Panthers taking the cornerback out of Georgia, the DeAndre Baker. I like the guy. I think he's a good cover guy. He's not the best cornerback in this draft, but he's pretty good. He's tall. But what I think they should do is they need an offensive lineman. And I think they should take Andre Dillard, the offensive tackle out of Washington. The reason why I say that is because they've been needing a line to protect Cam for years. And they've always had issues with those edges. From Michael Orr to all the other guys that they had on those edges, those guys have never been able to protect Cam. And I think that Andre Dillard is the best guy. He's strong. He's very, very strong at the point of attack. That includes the run and the pass. And I think that this is a guy that the Carolina Panthers would be happy to go with. The number 17 overall pick, they got the Cleveland Browns taking DK Metcalf, the wide receiver out of Ole Miss. Now, if anybody has seen the Cleveland Cavaliers this year, that's not a smart pick for them because they have Antonio Callaway and they got Jarvis Landry. So taking another wide receiver would be a silly, silly thing to do. So what I do is I have them taking Dalton Risner, the offensive tackle, offensive guard, and center from Kansas State. Again, this is something they need. They need offensive linemen. They struggle protecting a lot on that offensive line. And what better player can you have than a guy who can basically travel along the line? So, I mean, you don't see guys like this. I think the last real guy that I seen that was able to travel the whole line and play all the positions were, I think, two guys, and that was Riley McKenzie and Ray Brown. were the only guys that I seen, guys that were able to travel the line and actually play every position on the line. So I think that should be their pick. The number 18 overall pick, they got the Minnesota Vikings taking Dalton Risner, the guy that I just talked about. I said that for them, they had a fairly decent offensive line. Their quarterback is the problem. I know people don't want to hear that, but he is. I got them actually taking Dexter Lawrence, the defensive tackle out of Clemson. They need that nose tackle guy, that guy that takes up space, and that's going to free up those linebackers and those ends, because they have been looking for that for a while. They don't have a lot of guys who take up space, and Dexter Lawrence is that guy who would take up a whole lot of space for them. The number 19 overall pick, they got the Tennessee Titans taking A.J. Brown, the wide receiver out of Ole Miss. Well, guess what? I agree with that pick, and I got them taking him as well. They haven't had wide receivers that they could really rely on. They relied on their tight ends a lot, and that kind of hurt them, especially when Delanie Walker went down with an injury to end of his season. So that I actually feel that taking A.J. Brown at wide receiver is the best thing for them. With the number 20 overall pick, they got the Pittsburgh Steelers taking Devin Bush, the linebacker out of Michigan. The Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker is something that they need, especially with Ryan Shazier, he more than likely not coming back. They did kind of fill that gap, and the guys that replaced them did a pretty good job. But with the Antonio Brown situation going on, they're not sure what's going to happen there. So I actually got them taking DK Metcalf, the wide receiver out of Ole Miss. I know his teammate, I had him go his teammate went a pick ahead of him, but DK Metcalf kind of fits that mold of those guys that they like. Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be the man there, and they need a guy like Metcalf, who's pretty much similar to Martavius Bryant, so that will be a great fit for them. For the number 21 overall pick, they got the Seattle Seahawks taking Montez Sweat, the defensive end out of Mississippi State. I got them taking him as well. I think he's an excellent fit for them. Again, they needed to replace Michael Bennett, and that's something that they really need to really submit more of that defense. I know they need offensive line help, but I think replacing Michael Bennett is number one on their list with that first overall pick. With the number 22 selection, the Baltimore Ravens, they got them taking Josh Jacobs, the running back out of Alabama. I also got them taking Josh Jacobs, the running back out of Alabama as well. Again, with Lamar Jackson being as good as he is, they need somebody who can change the pace for him, because he's going to need somebody to be able to block for him and actually be able to run people over and take some of that load off of him, so he's not running that ball as often as he is currently. So I think Josh Jacobs is the right fit for the Baltimore Ravens, and plus they've never had a running back to really replace Ray Rice, and I think this guy, it may be that player to do that. For the number 23 overall pick, they got the Houston Texans taking Jawan Taylor, the offensive tackle out of Florida. Again, because on my draft list, he went earlier. I actually got them taking Draymond Jones, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State. Again, this is a guy that Houston has always had really good defense. They kind of need some assistance on the offensive line, but in reality, they need somebody else that could play beside J.J. Watt, and if they bring him back, Jadeveon Clowney, because they need some more help, so these guys aren't double teamed and triple teamed and being taken out of games. So I think that Draymond Jones is the guy for them at this pick. With the number 24 overall pick, they got the Oakland Raiders taking Jeffrey Simmons, the defensive tackle out of Mississippi State. Now, because Ja'Kai Polite fell down the board, I actually got the Oakland Raiders taking Ja'Kai Polite, the defensive tackle out of Florida. They need all the defensive tackles, defensive ends they can take, because they desperately need to replace Khalil Mack. To know that Khalil Mack was that important to that team is almost insane. So for them, they need to draft every defensive end possible. With the number 25 overall pick, they got the Philadelphia Eagles taking Rashawn Gary, the defensive end out of Michigan. Again, this is a guy, he's actually really, really good, but I got them taking Jeffrey Simmons, the defensive tackle out of Mississippi State. Again, he probably fits them better. He will be able to play beside Fletcher Cox. For once, Fletcher Cox will have pretty much what he'll have pretty much what Ndamukong Suh was to Aaron Donald last year. So this guy would actually be the best fit for them. With the number 26 overall pick, they had the Indianapolis Colts taking N'Keal Harry, the wide receiver out of Arizona State. I personally feel that they're not going to take a wide receiver. They do need wide receivers, but not really. They just need another guy that could really do it, and they could probably find that guy in the second round. I think they're going to need safety help, because they actually got a safety that's a free agent, and the guy's like a tackling machine. So I got them taking Deontay Thompson, a safety from Alabama. Again, I don't really think that this guy's a really good safety, but he does do well with covering tight ends and things like that. So he's actually tall. So, you know, sometimes when you get those guys that's really tall, they've actually been a little bit better. Every time I see him play, he reminds me of, I might be, you know, kind of aging myself here, but the 49ers had this guy called Merton Hanks years ago, and, you know, he kind of reminds me of him a little bit. With the 27 overall pick, they had the Oakland Raiders taking Trayvon Mullen, the cornerback out of Clemson. Again, this is one of these picks where the Raiders need to replace Amari Cooper, who, again, they screwed up on. So I got them taking N'Keal Harry, the wide receiver out of Arizona State. They, again, like I said, they need to replace Amari Cooper. So this is the guy that they really need to take. With the number 28 overall pick, the Los Angeles Chargers, they got them taking Mack Wilson, the linebacker out of Alabama. I already got him going earlier on my draft board. So I actually got them taking Irv Smith, the tight end out of Alabama. The reason why I got him is because they have to replace Antonio Gates. Antonio Gates has been in the league for a very long time. And at this point, it's time to help him, you know, retire his shoes. And what better way than to get a guy who can actually play and block. So I say that they would take him, Irv Smith, the tight end out of Alabama. With the 29 overall pick, Kansas City Chiefs, they got them taking Jalen Ferguson, the defensive end out of Louisiana Tech. This is a team that needs safeties because Eric Berry got killed out there by Gronk. So they need a guy that's tall, that's big, and that's lanky and can cover. So I got them taking Nazir Adderley, the safety out of Delaware. That's the guy that they need to actually help them out more, because there's just no way you can have Eric Berry covering covering tight ends like that, and they're just basically catching over top of him because he's not that tall. So that's what I feel that they should do there. For the number 30 overall pick, they got the Green Bay Packers taking Noah Fant, the tight end out of Iowa. Again, they need to rebuild that defense. So I got them actually taking Rashawn Gary, the defensive end out of Michigan. Again, like I said, they need somebody to play beside Clay Matthews. If they don't bring back Clay Matthews, at least with this pick, they would have picked, according to my draft, they already picked Nick Bosa earlier, and then they can get Rashawn Gary later. So at that point, they could replace Clay Matthews if he doesn't re-sign with them. And at the same time, they're still on the path of rebuilding their defense, which is something they should have been rebuilding for years. With the number 31 overall pick, again, this is my theory that the Patriots are going to win. So they're going to have the last pick in the draft. With 31 overall pick, I got the Los Angeles Rams. They got the Los Angeles Rams taking Draymond Jones, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State. I had him going early on my board, so I got them taking Trayvon Mullen, the cornerback from Clemson. Again, Marcus Peters is a free agent. Aqib Talib will be a free agent, so they're going to need somebody to replace these guys. So, or at least one of these guys. So, Trayvon Mullen is probably the cornerback they need to go with. He's aggressive, kind of like Talib and Peters. So I think he'll be the best fit for him. Now, for the number 32 overall pick, the New England Patriots, they have them taking Dexter Lawrence. Again, on my board, I got him going a little bit higher. I got them taking Noah Fant, the tight end out of Iowa. Again, they've always had this thing where at one point they were going with the 2 tight end offense. I think this guy, Noah Fant, can bring that back. He's an awesome blocker. He's an awesome pass catcher. And if Gronk is to the point where he can't really perform anymore, I think that it's time to move on, and Noah Fant will help them move on. So that's my mock draft 1.0. I'm going to do a mock draft 2.0 and 3.0. My 2.0 draft, I'm going to wait probably about 2 weeks before I do that one. And my 3.0 draft will be right a week before the actual draft, where I actually kind of like move players around and really figure out what players are going to go in the second round and things like that. So what I need y'all to do, I want y'all to like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you need to do, and keep me doing this, because I just feel that these players that I selected here are actually good. Again, I want to give myself a hand for actually talking about the guys that most people weren't paying attention to and how these guys are now moving up the draft board. So again, like, subscribe, comment, and I'm your man, John Fortune, the host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show.